Where's the party?
Let's have some fun.
Well, hi, Sue,
Hi, Shelley.
and welcome to the Fun Grandma Podcast. And we are back for season 2, and no one's more surprised than us. There's more Fun Grandma.
Oh, wow. I mean, there were some doubters, including us, right?
But we're
And
here.
we are.
We're back. And I do need to confess that in season 2, I'm still not a grandma. It's the biggest irony of this whole thing. But that's okay. We've got some great grandmas that we're going to be talking to in this next season. We also have a new driving force that we feel God's given us.
Yeah, it is. Let love be your greatest aim. And we're stealing that from Jesus. We really believe that having connection and relationship in families and conversation is such an important thing, and letting love be your greatest aim. So we're going to stick with that.
That's so true. And our first guest of the season exemplifies this like no other. We got to sit down and talk with Heather Lawless.
Well, one of my claims to fame is that I was Heather's preschool teacher, and I have to tell you a funny story about her. So if you know Heather, you know that she's always dressed beautifully.
love how
I mean, it's
she-
just fun to see what in the world
Yes,
she's going to wear.
so stylish.
Right? When she came to preschool, she came in princess shoes every day, and when she was outside in the playground, sometimes her high heels would like stick down in the dirt or in the sand. And so I suggested to her mom that maybe a pair of recess shoes would be a good idea. But they both said, no, Heather likes to wear princess shoes, and she'll wear them outside at recess too. And she did.
Because we all know you got to suffer a little for fashion.
Right.
That's just a given. But Heather has grown up to be a champion for the pro-love movement. Those of us locally here know that she runs a place called the Reliance Center that just has such a reach, and she's starting to be someone that is talking on the national stage. And so we just were thrilled to have her come. But most importantly, she's a loving grandma.
Yes, she is.
And we just know you're going to love our conversation with her.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Well, hi, Heather. We are so glad that you are here at Fun Grandma. We're
I'm so
honored.
excited to be here.
It's just amazing.
So we're just going to start right off because we've got a lot of things we want to talk about. So what is something important, an important lesson that you have learned from your grandma?
Oh gosh, there's so many, but I think probably the biggest thing that I learned from my grandma, we called her Pooh, was that kindness matters. And that was her catchphrase, is that kindness matters and that there's always a reason to be kind. And so with the ministry that I lead and with my family, we've talked about how it doesn't matter if you're nice, it matters if you're kind. And so I think that's probably the biggest lesson that I learned, among millions of others, but probably that kindness matters. Yeah.
She definitely left a legacy.
She did.
And man, I learned some things from Pooh too. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
so awesome.
She's pretty great.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think she fits really well into our motto here at Fun Grandma, which is let love be your greatest aim. That is something that we're really trying to lean into. And
I love that.
yeah, so with that, we just know you're a very loving grandmother. And so we just always like to find out from people, what are some of the things you enjoy as a grandparent doing with your grandkids?
Oh my gosh. Well, I love being a grandma is way funner than being a parent. I feel like, there's way less rules. There's way more fun. I feel like my granddaughter Scarlett is just so sassy. And I love to do, she loves me to paint her nails. And she loves to come and try on all the shoes in my closet. I just think spending time with them is such a gift, and it's always an adventure, and I think I learned that from my grandparents, is that it's always an adventure. And since we don't live in town, when they come to our house, they think it's like driving to the Sahara. Like they think it's so far away from their house. So it's like this other world that they get to come visit. But I think just being intentional about making memories, and it doesn't have to be something that costs a lot of money or takes a lot of time, but just being really intentional with them. And something happens when they come, it's like time slows down. And we're able to just, because I live a life that's a little bit busy and a little bit go, go, go. And so when they're there, it's like everything's in slow-mo and you're able to just kind of drink in that time with them. So I think that's the best thing, is just the time in general.
Well, and as a busy person, how do you achieve that? I mean, how are you making that time?
Yeah, well, I'm probably not the best at it. And I mean, sometimes I feel like I fail at that, but just making sure to be intentional, like I said, because we do live out of town a little ways, we try to take them to dinner and, we try to always show up at their games and, things like that. Scarlett just started doing cheerleading. And so she knows I was a cheerleader. And so I'm super pumped to be able to go to some of her competitions. And I love to do her hair, but she hates it when I do her hair because when she was little, she used to say, "Grandma, you gonna hurt me?" She thinks I'm just the most roughest person when I'm doing her hair. So I love that. She doesn't love that. But sometimes it's hard to find a balance and to find time, especially because they're so busy too. They all play sports and all of that. So, but we try. So lots of times it's dinner at Applebee's or Zany's, that hour and a half time, but we cram a lot into the time that we can. So, and then just trying to show up and be present when we can. So, yeah.
Well, I know you guys show up. You're 100%. You're really good at that. So do they call you Grammy?
I'm Grammy, yep, and Rick is Papa. So, yep, I wanted to be glammy, like the glamorous grandma, but then they couldn't say that, and so I was like, that makes me feel dumb. So it's Grammy, yeah.
Well, Glammy that's my favorite so far.
That totally fits you too.
Yeah.
So we can call you Glammy.
You can, absolutely, yeah. And if someone calls, like if I'm with, especially Scarlett, they'll say, "Oh, is this your grandma?" And she'll say, "No." And then they look at me like, "I thought this was your granddaughter." And I'm like, "Oh, it is." And then I'll say, "Scarlett." And she goes, "It's my Grammy." Like, she'll say, but they'll say, "Is this your grandma?" And she'll say, "No." Like, there's no explanation either. She's like, "No, it's not my grandma. Yeah, it's my Grammy." Yeah.
Yeah. There's something very different about Grammy and Grandma.
Yeah.
That's me. Yeah.
Yeah, because she has 2 grandmas and only 1 Grammy. So, yeah.
Love it.
That's awesome.
You are known for championing a cause. And the Reliance Center is something we get to benefit from greatly here locally, but it's starting to have a real national reach, which is just such a cool thing God has done. Heather. I mean, we just couldn't admire you more, and we just are so excited for all that God is doing in and through you and through Reliance. But we're kind of interested in the origin story a bit, like, how did it come to be, and I am even, for those out there too that might, God's calling you to something, I think people can really learn from you about how you listen to God and then take action. So anyway.
Yeah, I was, my pro-life story is deep since I was in my mom's womb, and Brad, Sue's husband, is actually one of the reasons why I'm alive today, is because he talked to my mom about choosing life for me when abortion was the option. And so the pro-life cause has always been deep in my heart, but I started working at an organization in the pro-life movement, and I became just deeply embedded, and it just became like a fire in my heart to not only rescue babies from abortion, but just to show women their worth and their value. And so I was with this organization for quite a while, a long time, and then some funding changed, and so my position got cut. And when I left there, I remember just thinking, like, this is my identity, like this is my purpose, this is what I was supposed to do. And I was wrong to have my identity wrapped up in that, but I knew that this was my purpose and a passion that God gave me. And so a couple days after they cut my position, I was, reaching out to some wise counsel. And actually, one of the people in the head of the Sanctity of Human Life Division for Focus on the Family, I called her and she said, "You just need to start your own organization." She said, "I've heard the dreams that God's put in your heart. You just need to start your own organization." I remember thinking, no way. Like, there's no way I could do that. There's no way. I'm not organized. I'm not administrative. Like, I don't have any money. No way. And then a couple hours later, I had another phone call with my friend Amy Ford, who founded Embrace Grace, which our church is lucky enough to run a chapter of. And she said the same exact words to me: "Heather, you need to start your own organization. God's told you these amazing things and put this dream in your heart. You need to do it." And I was like, yeah, no. And then a couple hours later, I talked to another wise counsel. She's actually my agent with my speaking bureau. And she said, "Heather, you need to start your own organization." And so that night I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like, okay, we're going to do it. And so we prayed about it, and God just kept saying, rely on me. And that's where reliance came in, because I looked up the dictionary and it said a person or thing on which someone can depend. That's what reliance is. And so I thought, well, that's what we want to be. And so then God gave me the really clear vision of the four parts of it: the medical clinic, the men's program, the coffee shop, and the housing program. And then to be able to share it across the country and the nation to help people learn how to love women better and be a safe place. So,
Which it definitely is.
yeah.
And so 3 of those components have come to pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, and we're working on the 4th one. So.
Yeah, that is so great.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. In just 8 years since the vision started, September 11th was 8 years that we got certified or whatever it's called as a 501c3. We raised money for a year, and then the clinic has been open for 7 years. Yeah. So
that is amazing. That is obviously confirmation that God is in this, right?
Yep.
I mean, completely. So I have been inspired by you when I hear you talk about pro-love.
Yes.
And not that you don't talk about pro-life, but you talk about it kind of through the filter of pro-love. Can you share about what the difference is?
Yeah, I think that especially for people who are, I'm 44, so anyone who's older than, their late 20s doesn't know what the pro-life movement of like the 80s and 90s looked like. Right. And that typically just looked like telling women not to have an abortion, like you choose life. And that was beautiful. And, the people who founded the pro-life movement and who worked really hard, after Roe was passed, to save babies and help women, they did an incredible job. But the pro-life movement of today is really the pro-love movement. And what I mean by that is that being pro-life is now viewed as a political stance. It's, something that people say that they're attached to or not attached to, they're for or they're for against. But being pro-love is really an action, and you can walk out a pro-love life. You can walk out a pro-life too, a pro-life life also, but a pro-love life just looks like leading with love. It looks like making sure that everything you do is that really beautiful balance of truth and grace. And being pro-love is not just saying choose life and then have a nice life. It's saying choose life and then let us walk out this life with you. Mm-hmm. So providing practical things and really being the ones that say, we're with you no matter what. We'll walk with you. Mm-hmm. And being pro-love means being willing to get dirty. Mm-hmm. And, I say all the time, like, we need to just take off our pretty little bow and roll around in the mud with people, because when you get in the mud with them, they go, oh, you're just like me. And we're all just like them. There's no least of these, because I am the least of these. So, that's what I feel like that looks like.
Yeah,
that's awesome, because I know that even people that have chosen to have an abortion, that you're ministering to them too with pro-love.
Yeah.
Right.
We had a girl come. She came in a couple weeks ago, and I guess it's been a couple months ago now. Time goes by so fast. But she came in and she had 2 appointments with us, and she was really abortion determined, meaning when she came to us, she already knew she wanted to have an abortion. She just wanted to make sure that how far along she was and all those things, and we did our best to speak truth to her and show her all her options, but she did choose abortion. And she came back to the clinic 2 weeks later, and she had this envelope in it. And the envelope had $200 in it and a note that said, "Thank you so much for being there for me when no one else was. Thank you for showing me that I'm worth something. And thank you for loving me." Wow. And, she came to, I think she just came to drop the envelope really quickly and softly, but when she came around the corner, she ran into our nurse, and the nurse, said, "How are you?" And the girl kind of, with her head down, said, I did have an abortion, but I wanted to come back and thank you guys for how kind and loving you were." And I thought, as much as it grieves us that she didn't choose life, the fact that we showed her love and kindness, I think that was huge for me. Yeah.
It is.
That she felt comfortable to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and knew she would meet love there.
Yeah. Well done.
Yes.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, you wrote a book.
I did write a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wrote a book.
Mhm.
And
2 books, actually. Because there's a workbook that goes with that book.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So, tell us what compelled you to get the story out. Why the book? What?
Yeah. Well, my life is filled with lots of ups and downs and things that I'm not proud of, right? Things that someone would look at and say, like, "That's awful, that's disgusting, that's bad, that's, whatever it is." But all of those things become really beautiful when they're covered by the blood of Jesus. And so there was a time when I was with a group of nonprofit people working in the pro-life nonprofit world, and we were talking about a sexual exposure chart. And the sexual exposure chart is basically like, if you've had this many partners and they've each had this many partners, this is basically how many people you've been exposed to, right? And I remember looking at that chart, and at the bottom of the chart, there's a number on there. And I remember saying in that meeting, like, my number's not even on here. Like, how crazy is it that God can still use someone like me? And like trying to start a conversation about that, because knowing that that's the people that we have to talk to inside our clinic. And the people that I was in front of, one of them kind of leaned forward to me and said, "Well, we don't talk about those things." And I said, "We don't talk about what?" And they said, "We don't talk about stuff like that. It's inappropriate." And I remember thinking, talking about where I've been and what God has done, that's inappropriate. How in the world are we supposed to sit knee to knee with these women who are hurting and broken and walking through things that we can't imagine, and say, we don't talk about that? And so that's really when the fire kind of rose in my soul to talk about what I've walked through and to share some of the stories that I've been honored to listen to and to step into that holy ground with them. And so I wanted this book to be kind of a holy disruptor to the silence in the church about sex and about shame and about redemption, because I think that lots of times people's stuff makes us really uncomfortable. And when we hear something that's uncomfortable, we we kind of flinch. And so I wanted this book to be kind of like a light switch to go, we don't have to flinch. We can listen. Listen doesn't mean condoning. Listen just means that listening and stepping into and saying, "I hear that you've walked through that. I'm so sorry, but look at what God can do and look at what God has done." And so, that's where that came from.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Yeah, because, and Jesus tells us that when we confess to one another, we can be healed and restored,
Right. It's
right?
a part of the healing.
It's not, we can't forgive, it's not about forgiveness from another person, but it can bring about some healing that I understand, and God still loves you. And my favorite, I can't say I enjoyed the book, because that wouldn't be right to say, "Oh, I enjoyed hearing how much pain you went through." I didn't enjoy that at all. But I was and am so proud of you for not being silent in your story and letting people know that you can come out of that shame.
Right.
And I love your line that says, and I'm probably not going to quote it right, but it says something like, shame doesn't have the last word, Jesus does, right? That is powerful, Heather. And it's powerful for all sin, right? For all sin. So I recommend the book. It's not easy to read, but it's a quick read, and you get a real window into not just your story, but to other women's stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for your courage.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we have to remember that shame started in the garden, right? So shame walked out of the garden with us, but Jesus walked out of the grave. And so there's all of that covers all of that. And I think we forget that sometimes as Christians.
Yeah.
So as the church. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and as people on a pastoral staff, you know, that want to have community like you're describing, you know, that isn't silent, you know, because I think because we want to receive the redemption that Jesus offers us, we sometimes, though, instead of it being redemption, it's kind of this gloss over, like, okay, well, that's your past. Or, you know, it doesn't matter where you've been, you know, here we are. And we all know that healing doesn't quite work that way. So what would you say to us as people on a pastoral staff? How can we be better at bringing these conversations? How can we stop being silent on such an important issue?
Yeah. I was just telling someone this the other day. I think that, like I said before, it makes us uncomfortable, right? Someone comes to you and tells you something awful that's happened to them or something awful that they've done or been a part of, you know, or, and I think we like kind of, you know, it makes us uncomfortable. But the cross makes us uncomfortable too. And I think when we think about Easter and, you know, we don't get to the resurrection if we don't first have the cross. And so that's why, you know, people argue about, you know, whether or not the cross should have Jesus on it. Should it not, you know, all those things. But the fact is that we have to see Jesus on the cross to know the weight of that, to celebrate the weight of the resurrection. Right. And so I think if we just say, well, you're not there anymore, look at what God's done, and we kind of like shove that under the rug, that we're not looking at the ugly to celebrate how beautiful the beautiful is and how great the redemption is. I mean, if you read my book and see the things that I've done and the things that I willingly did, and then the things that happened to me, and you walk through that with me, and then you go, oh gosh, like God really can take the giant mess and turn it into something for his glory, right? And so I think that that's the biggest thing, is that we don't want to spend too much time there, because we don't want to let them sit there, because God calls us up and out of that. Right. But I think that's the biggest thing, that the message that I wanted to put is that don't ever... First of all, don't let them see you flinch when they talk about that. Is that because sometimes we, in our mind, we're going, oh, holy moly, like this is awful. I can't, what? Like, or you know, and our shock on our face, like they can't see that, right? Because we can't, they already think they're the worst. And so we can't convey that to them. So I think just stepping into that with them and not flinching, and then just celebrating the goodness of God. And if they're not there yet, pointing them to the goodness of God and reminding them that this isn't the end. It's not too far, you know, that, yeah. So
this is just maybe to help me, coach me up. Okay. So when I'm meeting one-on-one with someone and they're sharing, you know, they're sharing the heartache of brokenness, you know, I can weep with them and I can talk about, you know, restoration, but I really honestly am not sure if I know how to address it, like from the pulpit. Like I don't know how to do that.
Oh, right.
Right.
How can we?
Well, because I think that we've been told, and gosh, I have found being in the public, I hate to call myself a leader, but being a leader, right? A thought leader in this movement, is that there's always going to be someone that's going to have something bad to say about what you're doing, right? And so I don't ever want to speak bad about pastors in church, and I'm thankful to belong to a church family that I feel like always speaks truth. And I love how Kevin gets up there and just, he's like, this is what we're talking about today, and it might make you uncomfortable. And he's said that so many times, but like he does it in such a beautiful way. But I do feel like there are some pastors who have stayed away from these subjects for so long that it's just terrifying to them, because they think like, I'm going to lose people, or people are going to walk out, or I'm going to offend someone. And the fact is that nothing that we're supposed to do as the body of Christ is supposed to make us comfortable. It's all supposed to make us uncomfortable. And so if you're in a place that feels uncomfortable, you have to know the difference between it feeling uncomfortable and feeling like you need to, stay away from it. But sometimes that uncomfortability is a prompt to move forward, so we can walk through that to get to more freedom on the other side. So I think addressing it from the pulpit is just the first step, is just saying, okay, we're going to talk about these things, and it's going to be uncomfortable, but it's going to be worth it at the end. Because the fact is that 98% of the people that we see tell us that they don't want to go to church because they feel like they're not welcome, they have church hurt. And what they don't realize is that the people in the church that hurt them is not the God that the people in the church serve.
Where's the party?
It is really great to be back on the podcast.
It sure is.
And I would think I'm speaking for many listeners when I say I'm due for a Parker Sue update.
Okay. Well, not hard for me to share about Parker Sue. Well, she's eating some solid foods now, and she really loves avocado. Yeah. And oatmeal. And so I just got a video yesterday of her having oatmeal all over her tray, and she's just licking it and laughing. And she she's kind of a little bit dramatic.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And so she had a kind of a bad cough, and then it was over. But yet she still will cough and then laugh and cough and then laugh. So apparently she appreciated all the extra attention that the cough got her. And so anyway, she's just so fun. We are just, of course, delighting in her. She's 7 months now.
Wow.
And guess what?
What?
I get to go on a trip with her.
Well, will this be her first big trip like this, or has she already traveled?
She hasn't flown before.
Okay.
Yeah. So she has gone to the coast a couple times, but yeah, we're gonna fly to Florida to see her aunt and uncle.
That's wonderful.
So 2 of my grandchildren that live in Florida, we get to go this week and see them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, so I'd be curious, so these are grandkids you don't get to see very often, and
Yeah.
Well, how are you getting ready, or what is this entailing for
Okay.
you?
All right. Well, yeah, I haven't seen them for 4 months. So
Wow.
they are 9 and 10, and I have fair warned them that there will be no patting Grandma, because they like to just go like this to me instead of give me a giant hug. And anyway, I'm a bit concerned, but about the sleep situation, because we're going to get there after midnight, and
Yeah, we're on West Coast. You're going
yeah,
East Coast.
3 hours difference, and we
man,
have to have
that's
one of
big.
them at a ball game at actually 6:30 in the morning. So that's
Wow.
our 3:30.
Yeah.
So I'm preparing by thinking about how I need to get some extra sleep, and then remind myself I'm very well rested.
Right. It's a state of mind.
Yeah, I definitely need to have something in my carry-on for them, which I
they're gonna
don't have
love that.
yet. So I'm gonna get that done.
Sure.
I'm gonna, even if it's candy. I mean, just so
Sure,
that they
yeah.
know that.
Yeah, that they were being thought of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So, but we're gonna have so much fun.
Oh, I bet. And
Yeah.
did I hear they get to come out of school for
Yeah.
this?
Yes.
That is
so
sweet.
we are staying in a resort area and taking them with us for 5 days.
That is awesome.
So, yeah, and
Yeah.
we're going to get to watch both of them. One of them's My granddaughter is a flag football player.
Awesome.
I wish there would have been flag football when I
Yeah,
was
I
a little
bet.
girl. I
Yeah.
would have loved that. So that's going to be
Yes.
fun.
Yes.
And then Johnny's playing tackle football, so we're going to get to go to both the games. So that's going to be so fun.
It couldn't be any better.
Yeah.
That is going to be a great time and
Yeah.
guaranteed memories from that trip.
Yes. And just getting to see them. My other granddaughter, who's Parker Sue's mom, and her mom, Kim, we're all going. And so it's going to be great.
Yeah, and if you want to hear more from them, you could meet them in a prior episode. We'll be sure and link that in.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
we got to meet all those guys.
Yeah.
I love that on our Mother's Day episode. And they are just a beautiful family. So that's so great. Well, and I was thinking just now that it is great to live in the same town as your grandkids. But what's cool about this is that you're going with no other responsibilities. You get to just focus on them, and the whole time is about being with them.
Yeah.
So that's very special too.
That is. And so it's good to be thinking like that because I had a year that 4 of them moved away
Right.
that
was
I
really
had
sudden. Yeah.
saw all of them every day. And
Right.
now when I do get to see them, it is really focused time on them. So that's a good thing.
It is.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious from our listeners. I bet many are long distance grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
We'd love to hear. How is it that you connect with your long distance grandkids, and what are some of the ideas that really make that meaningful and that intentional time really strong?
Yeah.
Because
That would help me. Help
Yeah.
me out.
Right, help all of us out.
Yeah.
I know that's why we gather, right,
Yeah.
around this idea of being really intentional in our connections across the generations. So, well, hopefully we'll get to hear about this trip sometime.
Yeah, for
It'll
sure.
be great. Well, now back to our interview.
All right. Well, that as you're talking, what I'm thinking about is the difference between condemnation and conviction.
Right.
Right.
absolutely.
So we're not talking about. That helped me. Thank you.
Right. Well, and holding that tension of, speaking the truth, like you said, but with grace.
Yeah.
And that is something that we have to be in the school of the Holy Spirit to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are just people too. The
Yeah.
church is populated by flawed human beings, and none of us have it figured out.
And I think that's the biggest part is that people think, I remember thinking that I still think you hung the moon, but I remember thinking, when I was little, probably until just years ago, that your life was just perfect. And you and Brad were these perfect people who had these perfect lives and you're this perfect church lady, right?
You think differently now?
Well, I still think you're this perfect church lady, but I know I've seen your pain. I've sat and cried with you, and so I know that your life is not perfect, right? But something changes when we're able to sit with someone and a light bulb goes off and goes, oh, you're not a perfect church lady. Like I remember Shelly telling you, like, you're the kindest, most gentlest, like both of you. I sit with you and I just would like you to record something so I can listen to it when I go to bed at night because you just invoke peace. But like, you're not perfect, right? No. And so, but the only reason I know that is because both of you have told me things that tell me otherwise, right? Otherwise, I would just think, well, you're a pastor's wife, you just must be perfect. And the fact is that I was a pastor's wife, and that's where a lot of my hurt happened, was because I was expected to be this perfect pastor's wife. So when I can sit in front of a girl and tell her, listen, sis, I've walked where you've walked, and let me tell you this, I did this, and their jaw drops and their eyes get wide and they look at me and they go, you? And then I say, yeah. And they go, but you run this organization, you're this perfect church lady. And I get to say, there is no such thing as a perfect church lady. And so just speaking the truth about that is that, no, we're not, the church is not a hospital full of perfect people, or it's not a museum full of perfect people, it's a hospital for broken people.
That's right.
Well said,
So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So good.
I do still think you're the perfect church ladies.
Oh, no.
No. No, we don't even want that job.
No.
Right?
No, who wants that job?
Yeah.
Well, and I can remember a time you shared at Valley Girls, which is a women's group that we all belong to, but and you shared on fear, and I still remember that talk. What are scriptures that anchor you in hard times. I know in that talk you shared some, but
Yeah. Well, fear is still something that I struggle with. And I just think the biggest one is just that God has not given me a spirit of fear. And not only has God not given me a spirit of fear, but he's given me a sound mind. And so power of love is in there too. But the spirit of fear and the sound mind part, because for me, it's my brain's always going. And so when I stop my brain is when all the fears creep in. And so then it's easier to just keep my mind going. But when I remind myself, sister, God did not mean your mind to work this way. God did not make your mind to work this way. He gave you a sound mind. And so stopping myself and repeating that. And I, have said, I will be washing my hair and just, God has given me, he's not giving me a spirit of fear. He's given me a sound mind. Because I already know that I have the power of love, the power of his love, and I can do all things through his love. But I have to remind myself all the time about a sound mind, so.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a great sword.
Yes.
And
yes.
It's like changing the channel in your brain, right?
Right.
Because I don't know if I do know. You have to do that a lot, right? It's not like
daily.
You did that one time and now but you know the truth. Yeah. Okay.
Well, and you have so many decisions to make, so many things to discern. And Romans 12 tells us, that it's through the renewing of our mind, which is so what you're doing. And then we can discern his good and perfect will.
Yeah.
And so how crucial, for each of us.
That's my husband's sword, the renewing of your mind, your scripture. And he always says, like, Heather, you need to renew your mind. And I say, shut up. I don't.
It's not
yeah. So, but he's right. And so I have to continually do that. And I remember we were in a Valley Girls group one time and we were talking about taking off the old and putting on the new. And Sue said, it's like you're wearing a shirt that has a label. And when someone looks at the label, it needs to say Jesus. And I think about that all the time. Like this morning when I was getting dressed and I was looking at the label of my dress that I put on. And I remember thinking like, okay, like this says Jesus, like I'm putting it on, and it's just those little things that we have to keep repeating and keep doing every day. And lots of days I fail, but some days I get it right.
Yeah.
What a sticky, look
Yeah.
at that was a great sticky illustration. She
Yeah.
still remembers.
That's amazing. My brain is back at you saying Rick was right and me thinking we need to edit that out.
Or he's going to, or give it to him special.
Okay.
We need to email that right to him.
Right. Okay. Anyway, I need to renew my mind. All right. Oh, dear. Okay. So you are definitely a kingdom builder. Definitely. And you are also empowering others to be kingdom builders. So I'm just so proud of you. What do you want to have as your legacy? Like when it's all said and done,
This is
what
a
are
doozy
some-
of a question.
what are some things that you would love to have built in the kingdom?
I was reading that question and I started to cry and I'm getting emotional thinking about it. I think that I want to be remembered for someone who always spoke up for those who couldn't speak up for themselves, for someone who was always willing to admit that she was wrong and have a real offer a real apology. I think that I want to be remembered as someone who was bold enough with her faith that it caused change. I don't want to just be a voice. I want someone, when they hear my voice, to see and hear Jesus. And I want to just leave a legacy of love. Like I love when we just had Hope on the Farm, up at the Meter Farm. And I loved watching my grandkids run around up there. And, that was our eighth show, our eighth Hope on the Farm. And so for their whole entire lives, that's what they've known. And Scarlett said one day, when we were setting up for one of our events, I think it was for Truth and Grace, we were setting up this stage and she was like, Grammy, are you going to get up there and talk? Because we were testing microphones. And I said, yeah. And she goes, are you going to sing? And I said, no, I'm not going to sing. And she said, okay, good. And then she said, you're going to get up there and tell them about Jesus, aren't you? And I said, yeah, sis, I am. And she goes, but you're also going to tell them about keeping their babies. And I said, yeah, I am. And she goes, good. And then she like ran off. But I thought like, okay, so she's, so young, but she knows that like, okay, when Grammy puts that microphone on, she's going to go tell them about Jesus. And so I think that makes me emotional. I think that's what I want to, the legacy that I want to leave is that I always spoke about Jesus. And I hope that when people talk about me, that it only takes a second or two for them to get to Jesus, that it's not, well, she like always wore a lot of makeup and had big eyelashes and red hair. I hope it takes just seconds for them to get to she lived out a life sold out for Jesus.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful, and
Sorry, we're not prepared.
I think that that I won't be around when that's happening, but that will be said about you. That is being said about you, and isn't it? I hear your heart in having your granddaughter getting those pieces of what's really important, and they're coming alive in her.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that is, and she is so adorable.
You
You have
three of them.
They're-
Yeah.
they're-
Three of them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
The boys don't quite get it as much as sis does,
Yeah.
but yeah.
yeah,
Because they're boys.
right.
I think a big part of your legacy at River City Church, I know, is helping us embrace grace,
Yeah.
which is a beautiful national ministry.
Yes.
And so we just are very grateful that you have brought it to River City Church. And I would think some of our ministry celebrations are the result of that group. And I just would love to give you some time to share some of those. I could mention some, but I'd rather you do it.
Yeah, well, it's been such an honor to have brought that to the church, and now I've actually like been able to step out of that because I have, discipled these two other young women that actually walked through the program, and now they're leading it, and it's just mind blowing. And when you have something that's so close to you and then you hand it off to someone else, there's always that fear like, oh, are they going to do it like me? But the fact is that like I taught them what was important, but they don't do it like me. They do it like they do it. And we've had women give their lives to Jesus and get baptized. We have kids now going to church when they never stood a chance to even darken the doorstep of a church before. We've had, I think it's like almost 300 girls go through Embrace Grace, and that many babies plus more because we've had some twins. But just knowing that they all know that the church is a place they can run to, not a place they have to run from. And, we take every beginning of Embrace Grace, we take Bibles to Valley Girls, and we have the Valley Girls have the Bibles for the 12 weeks of Embrace Grace. And so the women of Valley Girls highlight in the Bibles and write in the Bibles. And I got this idea because one of my friends did this for her daughter, and she gave it to her daughter on her wedding day. And this Bible was filled with scripture and prayers and highlights. And when the daughter opened this Bible on her wedding day, it was just this incredible gift that her mom had given her. But I thought, what if, because giving a girl a Bible who's never had a Bible before is like, okay, thanks. But like, what is this? What do I do with this? But when we give them this Bible filled with prayers and scripture that's highlighted, and I know my Bible, when I open my Bible up and I can see where I've been and what I've done and what God's been doing, it just changes things. We gave a Bible to one of our girls, we call them brave girls, our brave mamas, like 2 or 3 baby showers ago. And the woman had come to Reliance homeless and addicted to drugs and barefoot, and then here at her baby shower, about to be married, about to have a baby, like life just, totally I keep saying 360, but that's this one that's all the way around, not 360. Her life had changed so much. And I handed her this Bible and told her, flipped through it and showed her the highlights and and she put her hands on her head and she just said, it's too much. It's just too much. And I said, what's too much? And she goes, this love is too much. And she just started to weep. And she said, I've never been loved like this ever in my life. And I think that's it. Like, right? Like, God lavishes his love on us. And I think that, and I always say that people are like, Heather, why does baby shower have to be so extravagant? And why do we have to have, and I said, because at least once, I've experienced the lavish love of Christ my whole entire life through my family and the way that they do things big and they love hard. And so at least once, every woman deserves to see the lavish love of Christ. And so when I gave her that Bible and she said, this is too much, I thought, yeah, it is too much, but thank God we get to experience it, so, yeah.
Well, and I think I did a poor job. So Embrace Grace is for women who find themselves in an unexpected pregnancy. Right?
Yeah, it's for any woman who is single, which just means not married, and and pregnant and needing support. Yeah, so lots of times, they're teens. Sometimes they're in their late 20s. It goes up to age 29, and it's 12 weeks of classes. They get them emotionally ready to be a mom, and at the end of the 12 weeks, we throw them a lavish, beautiful baby shower, and they each get their own table full of gifts, and it just shows them what agape love looks like, meaning love with no strings attached. And just teaches them about forgiveness and about labels that they put on themselves, and it really just shows them who they are. And sometimes they've had children before, so maybe this is the first time that they're getting to experience something like that. But the goal is also for them to see that the church is a safe place.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And I feel like women have discovered that because they stay in community.
Yeah.
And that blesses me beyond.
Yeah,
You
me
know.
too. Me too.
Yeah.
I have a picture etched in my heart from last season of this one of the moms that I wasn't at class, but I had heard that she really didn't want any of the spiritual component.
Right,
She
right.
wanted the shower, and she would come to the class, and
Yep.
and she was welcomed right on in.
Yep.
And then when I saw the leader give her the Bible, she wept. And, what the program of Embrace Grace really leads people to see who Jesus really is.
Yeah.
So thank you for helping us as the church and being able to help be a bridge builder. It's been beautiful. I think this is going to be, this fall will be our 14th Embrace Grace. Is that right?
So I stopped counting, but I think 14th or 15th. It's been like 7 or 8 years, and we do 2 a year. Right. So yeah.
That's amazing.
So many, and I hope we never stop.
I hope.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Because pretty soon your granddaughter's going to be running one of them, so we got to keep it going for sure. Heather, how could people find out about Reliance, and how could they partner with you? Because they don't even necessarily have to be local, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Can you kind of share a little bit about how people could find out and how they could
they
support?
can always go to relianceministries.com is our website where they can find out about our model. If they're here in town, we're downtown above Bumper Crop Coffee, 102 New 6th Street. They could find us on social media, Reliance Center on social media, Reliance Ministries on social media. They can find me on social media. Heather 3130 is, or Heather Lawless, but yeah, we love to walk alongside. Maybe you have a dream in your heart to start a pro-life organization in your own community. We do that, come alongside you and help you figure out what works for your community, and just empowering people to be bold. And we want to have this model that will eliminate the need for abortion across the country, because if we can find out the barriers to life and bust them down with love, I feel like we can change the world.
Well, Thank you.
This has been so great, Heather. Thank you for
Thank you for
spending this
having me
time with
on.
us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Here at Fun Grandma, our motto really is let love be your greatest aim. And you personify that in such a beautiful way and inspire others to do that also. So thank you, thank you, thank you.